are Necropolis Knights Chef's Kiss in patch 6.3.1. It's not that I was down on these before at all, but I respect the Necropolis Knights even more now. What we will see is not simply a story of armor-piercing damage, it is a story about doing damage with impunity. It takes a very specific setup to really wreck these knights, and enemies without that specific setup are going to pay the price and won't be able to lift a finger, claw, or tail about it. That's a big deal. Recruited by unit capacity, but costed 1400 in multiplayer, the base Necropolis Knights arrive on Ultra scale with 24 entities and counting as large targets. They have 7,460 health between them for 311 per. Armor is 110 per entity, with Serpent and Tomb Guard Rider operating as one, with cavalry shields blocking 30% of small arms fire from the front. There are no special resistances by default. Leadership 60 is very decent for a construct unit. Speed 66 is paired with Charge Speed 100, which makes it operate like a lower entity count Cold One Riders style unit. I'll keep that comparison in mind. Melee attack begins at 40, but each attack carries poison with it, and someone playing Khalida constantly may not notice this, but Tomb Kings are not really brimming with sources of poison. Attack interval is one of the sore points of the unit, 5.4 seconds, so they aren't always putting out their damage as fast as you would like. Splash target size is small, so infantry only, and max target splashed is 3 at most, as in more may be tossed around, but only 3 suffer HP loss, so max 72 units under mathematically ideal circumstances. Melee defense starts at 43, and that's actually very solid. Weapon strength comes at 67, split base 25, and armor piercing 42. That seems a lot less than some units, but again, this is a unit with 24 entities. Charge bonus is an extremely respectable 52, and mass is 1300 per, hardly the highest, but not bad. Traits are very vanilla. Hide and Forest causes fear and counts as a construct, with construct crumbling and disintegration. The Halberds unit, gated behind the tier 4 cavalry building, is costed 1450 in multiplayer. It's the same 24 entities in health, 110 armor, but no shields. Leadership, speed, and charge speed are the same. Melee attack begins at 32, which is an 8-point reduction, but it's still poison with each blow. Attack interval and splash have not changed, which is to this variant's benefit, I feel. Most of the time. Melee defense of 37 is actually 6 less. Weapon strength of 55 is 12 less, split base 19, and armor piercing 36, both reduced by 6. At this point you're asking, okay battle, okay, where's the catch? The catch is a bonus versus large of 32. 32, equal to its base melee attack. So against enemy cavalry, that's melee attack 64 and weapon strength 87, split along the same armor-piercing favorable ratio. Charge bonus of 40 is respectable, but is 12 less, and mass is 1300 again, no change in traits. As is, there's no bracing, and so on. In the redline skills, Elite Cavalryman at 3 pips lands a little differently with plus 12% speed and plus 12% weapon strength, because while the speed is less than the Skeleton Cavalry, it's not crazy less, and the weapon strength is so much more. At rank 7 and up, Dune Rider offers armor plus 10, so we're at 120 now, melee attack plus 5, which is always welcome, and physical resistance plus 10%, which makes them even tankier. In the tech tree, everything's caught up in the 5th Dynasty, better known for buffing Caskets of Souls and Screaming Skull Catapults. The new tech, Coiling Alacrity, grants Vanguard deployment to Necropolis Knights, something they very notably lacked, and which potentially helps hugely, and Wayfarer, which dramatically aids their acceleration and deceleration, and adds Strider, eliminating combat penalties for forest, rainforest, any kind of trees, and also apparently removes speed penalties for fatigue also. This isn't new, but Invocation of Kuav adds melee attack plus 5 and melee defense plus 5 to both units, and there's nothing wrong about this. Ancient Quarries adds plus 10 more armor, so we can get to 130 now, and plus 10% to weapon strength, so we can have plus 22% weapon strength for a Lord speccing in the redline skills for cavalry. Patronage of the 5th Dynasty adds plus 2 to capacity for both types. A tier 3 cavalry building will cough up 1 normal, a tier 4 will cough up 2 normal, and 1 halberds, unless you have this tech. Once you do, it's plus 2 of each per tier 4 building. In addition, necrotechs of any decent level can increase capacity through skills. Kalita has a special buff for them in her army. So how do we use Necropolis Knights? First of all, this is the true heavy shock cavalry of your army and has the slow attack interval to prove it. The base unit is actually substantially more survivable in most circumstances and will have a Cold War Riders-like propensity to chew up enemies like Empire Knights in melee despite not being specifically anti-large. This is absolutely fine because it relegates Halberds to elite anti-large work, which is exactly what they should be doing. When they target infantry, it's a bit worse, but not so much worse. You don't want them charging in when you can manage it. As I said at the start, unless the enemy has a very specific setup, or you do stupid things like put them in a mosh pit with halberdiers and just leave them there, they will enjoy a strange kind of impunity. Moving too fast to target easily, tying down troops in melee that don't want to be in melee, like missile infantry, and then doing lots of damage when they actually get proper charges into engaged melee infantry. Also, if the enemy Dark Shards have easier targets that they can take down, like, say, a unit of Sivkolko Stalkers and a poor Nehakaran Horseman unit, the Necropolis Knights can end the battle virtually untouched. I'm running off memories of a specific battle here where I was supposed to have chariots. I could not recruit them in time, but I still won because what they didn't focus on, like the Necropolis Knights, gradually cleaned up one of the backlines and then delivered the final blow to the infantry. The fact that neither version splashes cavalry actually slows down destruction of large targets, but if the enemy isn't armor-piercing and preferably anti-large also, they're going down. It's just a matter of time. It's just to say that you probably want them working with other parts of the roster that spread more damage around. Beyond that, frankly, they're so fundamentally good that there's little to complain about. Skeleton cavalry have more entities and therefore damage spread against cavalry. Chariots cleave infantry even better. Stalkers have a wonderful role, but Necropolis Knights are just hard to kill if there are any distractions at all, and they make enemies pay the price for their continued existence. Just remember that their charge bonus is high and that their attack interval is a little slow. A little more micro to get them clean charges may be good for you, but sometimes they have a melee in hand to such a degree that you just leave them and focus somewhere else, and they're fine. Take care and have fun spreading poison to debuff your opponents and make them even less effective against all that armor. Don't forget that part, it helps everyone in the brawl.